welcome. Yes, to another episode of the Hatten Health Podcast. Yes, Major and Duke. He's back there, and Duchess too. She's back there hiding somewhere, relaxing. This is episode 9 of the Hatten Health Podcast. Thank you for joining us. I am Khari,
I'm Abby.
and we are Hatten Health, where we love to focus on family,
Health,
growth,
and empowerment.
So let's make it happen together.
Together.
Oh, I love that part.
That's
Yeah,
fun.
I'm stung a little bit. I'm not gonna lie. She's been working out. I can feel it.
Cheers.
Cheers. Yeah. Need a refreshment after that intro.
Just singing. I had a friend growing up that believed that it wasn't a true high five unless it hurt. So that just brought back a lot of childhood.
I've known a couple like that. Yeah, especially in my military days. Reminded me of one friend that I had who his thing was like after he saw Friday After Next, the third one, where that scene where Terry Crews shook Cat Williams' hand really hard, brought him in really hard, gave him a hug. He did that all the time to us, especially if it was in the club. He had a couple of drinks. He would shake hands and pull you in really hard, just imitating that scene all the time. Sometimes it was funny and sometimes it was annoying, depending on your mood.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was his thing, just a hard handshake hug.
Yeah. So today we are just gonna get kind of personal and talk about what health means to each of us.
Yeah.
And kind of go back in time and talk about what health meant to us at different ages and how it's evolved and how it's changed over the course of our lives.
Yeah, I feel that's important because in previous episodes, even the first episode, we gave you some backstory about us individually, just us as people, how we came to Hatten Health and things of that nature. Now we're just going to give you some backstory as to what health means to us and why we're talking about it now at this point in our lives and why we feel like it was important to bring information that we have gained and still gaining to you now.
And give you an opportunity to hopefully reflect on it as well and discuss it as a family or with friends or with coworkers and also with your children. So this has helped me really kind of analyze, especially with our 2-year-old about to be 3, like, okay, what did health mean to me when I mean, toddler probably doesn't really matter, right? You don't really remember, but into those elementary school years, like 5 years old, 8 years old. So then I can know how to prepare her and start having those discussions now that I wish or maybe should have had as a child as well.
Yeah, because these conversations are important to have. And speaking for me personally, it's a little therapeutic getting yourself having these conversations. You get to learn a little bit more about your partner and as yourself as you're talking about these things, because you might be able to unlock some things about your personality, your personal health that's gotten you to the point that you are now that you may not have understood or learned before. So it's good to have these open conversations, even if they're a little difficult or awkward to have. It's just good to get it out because you will feel a little better later on.
And it's good for your mind too to try to think and remember all different types of, or all different times in your life. So let's get started. So, Khari, what do you think health meant to you when you were 5 years old?
5 years old, that's a big one.
What was happening in your life from that time?
There was a lot, and I've done a lot of reflecting lately over just my childhood, my life. And like most people who don't remember much before the age of 4 or 3, I don't remember a lot at the age of 4. I remember certain things. 5, it's spotty from what I do remember, but as far as health goes, and like a lot of us probably wasn't thinking much about it. Was just thinking about being a kid, when our next snack was.
Well, I was just thinking 5 years old too, because that's when you start kindergarten and school, and so it's kind of a little easier to maybe remember that specific time.
The one things that stick out the most was probably not the healthiest things, which was probably my first time having which is my favorite candy, Reese's cup. When I started, far back as I can remember, chocolate chip cookies, making those, and like kindergarten cooking, whatever, at home. And I remember Sunday dinners at my grandmother's house. That was pretty much childhood, adolescence, teenagers, until we got jobs or whatever. We always had Sunday dinner at my grandmother's house after church. And the staple, that was on those plates, green beans and corn, carrots and green beans, or carrots and peas, or corn and peas. Combinations of those 4 was always there, unless it was a special occasion or something. And of course, as a kid, you're not really into that, but you have to sit there until you finish it or try to finish as much as you could without, don't push it away, you get in trouble, blah, blah, blah. Growing up, a lot of old school values, things you grow up, but you get taught a lot at that age how these are, eat your greens, you have to have your greens. Don't drink all your beverage before you finish your food. Don't push around your food. Don't just eat the meat or eat the thing you like. Eat everything properly, eat everything evenly, even if you don't finish it, just make sure you get those greens in you, get those vegetables. Our parents, grandparents always stressed about how much important vegetables were to your diet. Even if as a kid you didn't want to hear it, you thought they was just making you eat it just because you learn a little later that yes, those are important when you start going to school or other people start telling you. And yes, some of the shows you was watching on TV, cartoons or whatever, they have those hidden messages in there talking about those greens, those veggies. Prime example, Popeye, although it's exaggerated a lot, still spinach. Get your spinach, your protein,
Make you
your
strong.
vitamins, make you strong. Yes, then of course later on as an adult, you get your jokes like, oh, steroids in those greens. No, it was not. But they were just they're exaggerating, but still different cartoons though. They have those hidden messages about nutrition that they were trying to instill in you. Even so he's trying to get it to you in some way, shape, or form. Now it's just 5 years old. That's me thinking back now at this age. Back then, I probably didn't realize that. But as you get a little older, start going to elementary school, the different health classes that was in school. I went to public school, so I know we had the general health classes growing up. Those were some of health was one of my favorite classes. I didn't do great in every class in school, but the health classes was ones I liked a lot, along with the art and the music programs back when they had those in the public schools, language arts, spelling, science. But a lot of common threads that was in those classes that caught my attention was like because I was a very visual learner, so they had like the diagrams that we had to draw and learn, which each body part meant, which each system, body system was in detail, labeling them, learning about what the functions was. And that held my attention really well. And I always found that fascinating to this very day, how the body works, different, all the little details about how all the systems are interconnected together, how, and like we spoke about in a couple episodes back, gut health, how the gut is a second brain. We learned about that early on. And so throughout growing up, third grade, fourth grade, fifth grade, sixth grade, I started to understand a lot that I was being told when I was a kid earlier. How was been everything that we was being taught to eat was beneficial to us. Why we was being limited on candy, the junk foods, why certain sugars, certain salts was bad for too much of it was bad for you. And yes, even as adolescents, you start to understand that I still didn't fully take it seriously, but I understood that I didn't fight it. Not just because I was taught not to back talk to the parents, but I understood that because I was starting to see different declines in the elder generation members of my family. Seeing what my grandfather went through before he passed away. He passed away when I was at a young age, and my grandmother told me what he was dealing with as far as his strokes and whatnot. So I started paying attention to that, and she told me why, and I understood why when we went to go see him, although he loved candy so much, we wouldn't take him, or she wouldn't let him have certain amounts of candy. We couldn't bring him things, and I was like, okay, I get that much. Then seeing elder members of my family go through that, I feel like high school. I can't speak for everybody, but I know me and a lot of people that I know at that time. Yes, we wasn't being health conscious, but we understood that we felt like we was almost invincible. We could eat and do anything, but we knew that wasn't the right path to go. So we would try to balance our nutrition in ways that we was being taught, but it didn't always seem fun to us because we thought, hey, we're guys, we're playing football, we're young, we can do whatever we want, we can eat whatever we want. And hey, you start to learn that no, that's not the case. You start seeing people older than you and your family say they had that same mentality, not worse when they were younger, and then you see their health start declining later on because they didn't take it seriously. So that made me start to really think and take it seriously. Okay, yeah, I was my first job. I was working at a donut coffee shop, free access to donuts and coffee and ice cream all I wanted. But I had to check myself every now and then, like, yeah, this is nice, but this isn't right. I want to keep all my teeth the way they are. I want to stay young forever, although I know that's not possible, but stay looking young as much as possible. So I need to limit this a little bit. Don't take those liberties. to keep eating those vegetables. Try to balance my diet as much as I thought I could with the education that I had. And understanding, not knowing that I understood at that age, if that makes any sense.
Mm.
I didn't try to feel as young, as powerful, as free as I thought I could have. I still had a little sense of some sense of normalcy, some sense of trying to maintain a decent, healthy enough diet, because I knew that I wanted to do something with my life. I was, after high school, that I wanted to be physically present for. My mom was getting sick, so I wanted to do something to be able to take care of her, be present for her. Although, even if I wasn't physically there, if I were to go away to college or military like I chose, be able to have a good mind frame, good physical sense, physical presence that I can be set example for anybody coming after me. And I'm saying and a lot because I'm trying not to break this down too much when I talk too long, but I do want to give the information that how I felt at that time. And right now where I'm at. I feel like I'm in high school right now, senior year of high school, just before
Okay.
graduation.
Okay, cool.
But yeah, I wanted to, when I went into the military, I chose cooking because the profession that I really wanted to, first I wanted to try to go for, my ASVAB scores wasn't high enough. So they asked me what else do I like to do. I said, I love to cook, I love computers, but my test scores wasn't high enough to do go into computer science, computer analyst, or info, I forgot what it was. I think it was counterintelligence. So I was like, well, we always need a lot of cooks. You can cook. I'm like, all right, cool, I'll do that. So I did that. And then once I went through the whole boot camp process and got my first duty station, which was in Hawaii, Marine Corps Base, Kaneohe Bay, I was thrown into the mess hall. And there, where I got my first, well, not my first big taste, because our culinary school in the military, our MOS school was general culinary food service. So basically, it was cooking in the field, cooking in the mess hall, basics of cooking, basics of mass production cooking, whether it be field rations or on base. And I got a general education on the culinary arts. Wasn't like a 6 month to a year accredited big fancy culinary school like the Cordon Bleu and those places, but it was enough for the basics of the military, which what I needed to do in the military. So that was my first education in the culinary arts, and I learned a lot about food production, food safety regulations, sanitation, the nutritional effects of just everyday everyday mechanics of cooking, dealing with food, different food groups. And when I got stationed in Kaneohe Bay in the mess hall, that was a big mess hall. We served, I don't remember how many Marines I said, we just served a couple thousand, no, a few thousand, to my knowledge. I could be wrong. It's been a long time. This was 99, 2000, but we did mass production cooking. That was the main thing we did. And it was fun. I learned a lot. The staff sergeants, the mess hall sergeants, they weren't called chefs there, but I learned a lot from them. Learned a lot about recipe scaling, a lot about just production, food production in general. And that was fun. That was fun. I got a big dose of reality as far as like what to expect outside of just the coffee shop I worked at, the buffet restaurant I worked at before I went into the service. And
So what did health mean to you during that time though?
so what
So yeah.
so what health meant to me in my early 20s was at the time it was fuel for the body, fuel for the mind. I still didn't think as deep into it then as I do now. Then it was more general. It was more what I was learning about what the protein did for us. I was learning about what carbs did for us. I was learning about what the different sugars do in our body, how not to how to balance it, how not to use to intake too much of any single one because that's not going to work the way you think it would. And as much exercising as we did, we called it PT or IT or PFTs, the tests that we did, how proper fueling for our body helped us with those, with the runs, with the different exercise routines that we had to do, whether it be for testing or whether it be for field exercises, how proper fueling helped out that learn about when we did field exercises, we had to go into the field and do different trainings. The way we fed ourselves in the field compared to the way we fed ourselves on base was different. We still was able to get the same amount of nutrients, same amount of food, but the rations were different. food storage was different. We learned about that. So I learned about how I understood how we're still able to properly take care of ourselves in different environments and the importance of it. Learning that even with less rations, less amount of food, different types of food, we're still able to get healthy doses enough for us to survive and function without it being a deficiency. So I started taking that into account because I wasn't good at running at that time. I wasn't good at running, wasn't good at pull-ups. And I was talking with the, I almost keep saying chefs, but the people that was in charge of us in the mess hall, how to utilize the food that we ate to better our exercise routines. If that's the right way to say it, I'm not sure. And I was able to get better at the things I was not good at.
So did they give you a good insight and information or?
They did. And I didn't take it as seriously as I should have because at that time I was still young, 20 on my own for the first time, a lot of partying. There was not the proper balance as it should have been. But I understood that though, because a few years later when I got out and it was completely on my own and the struggles I went to as far as financially and housing and things of that nature, nutrition was the last thing on my mind. It was just anything to survive the next day before I was able to properly get on my feet. But I always knew that, okay, if I'm around the right people, if I'm around the right, around the food sources, then I can make a way. So staying in the restaurant industry, okay, I'm gonna start working in the restaurants. Maybe there's something to this. This is before I even knew I wanted to be a chef. I was just sticking with something that I knew right away that I already had a little bit of experience in. So as I'm navigating different restaurants, I'm still learning about how to properly feed myself the right way, even with minimal amount of money or minimal amount of resources. I knew that it was still important to me, figure out a way out of no way. Even if there's only a little bit, try to do it the right way and put a lot of the unhealthy habits to the side. I didn't do that, but I started to. It was a very slow, gradual process for me on the health side. Now, this is still early 20s, in the mid 20s. I got a job working for the Region Cruise Line. That not only changed my life, it saved my life in a lot of ways. Now I get on this ship. I'm starting to work for and with chefs from all over the country, not just the country, the world, different countries. So I'm learning about different cuisines, learning about different cultures, different types of restaurants on these different ships, different styles of cooking. And while I'm learning these different styles of cooking, these different cultures, I'm learning their healthy foods, their healthier options to the things that we eat here in America. Some of the stuff is the same, just made it in a different way, healthier way. So I'm taking all that in. And while, yes, some of those bad habits of being young, partying, and all that was still there, I was getting into exercise a whole lot more. I was making friends with people who were in excellent shape, who took nutrition very seriously. And I'm looking at them like, if I want to get like that, I need to listen to what they're saying and do what they're doing. So I'm starting to learn more about eating habits, how to space out your meals, how to eat more meals if I want to get to a certain size, but my, balancing my calorie intake versus my fat intake versus the calorie output, learning more about that. And then I'm starting to get health conscious without realizing I'm getting health conscious because I'm starting to care more about what I'm eating, caring more about what I'm consuming, and slowing down with a lot of the partying lifestyle compared to what I was doing a lot earlier before. And those experiences on the cruise line opened my eyes a lot because I'm working a whole lot more too, working 10, 12 hours a day, every day for months at a time before taking like a month vacation. And still living in Hawaii, dealing with the local Hawaiian diet, which was very popular. It was a lot of sodium, a lot of fat, and I was indulging in that before I realized I'm doing this too much. And then starting to, over time, like last 3 or 4 years, seeing other elder family members having health declines, strokes, cancers, starting to pass away. A lot of that was related to diet, nutrition from years before, the way they grew up. And I'm thinking, oh, this is getting scary. Opening my eyes. Okay, I need to slow down because I don't want that to happen to me. I don't know how much of that is genetic, and I don't want to add to it with the way I'm eating and not take care of myself as much as I should. Yes, I was exercising, but we're learning that I'm still in my early 20s. I'm still young. I got all this energy. I'm working all these hours, doing all these extracurricular activities, not getting that much sleep. But at this time, I wasn't caring about not getting that much sleep. I was trying to live it up as much as possible. I had FOMO for real, bad, all the way up until like my early mid 30s. And now looking back, like I should have been
That's
sleeping
when I
more.
met him.
Yeah. She met me during my transition phase when I was wisening up. But like health to me meant at that time, man, I need to preserve this youth that I got as long as I can. How do I do that? By slowing down, sleeping more. And that was a very slow, gradual process. At the time, I was not sleeping that much because I wanted to do so much. That was infinite ambition before infinite ambition. That was the wrong way of looking at it. I was doing too much too fast in a short period of time. So around 2006, 7, I left the ship, and there was some situations that happened in my life that sent me on a
How old were you
downward
then?
spiral about 25, 26. I was on a downward spiral for 5 or 6 months of just a lot of bad habits, not taking care of myself. And what made me wise up was this was about a year after I donated a kidney to somebody who I was very close with. My mother passed away 2006, just before I left the ship. And that was very awakening experience for me because she had dealt with different cancers that ultimately took her life. But before that, she was a heavy smoker my whole life, which is one of the things that made me never really want to smoke cigarettes. So when that happened, that was like I really checked myself, like, okay, this is yeah, I can't do this anymore. Although I wasn't feeling any ailments, I knew if I continued this path, all the ailments was going to come soon. Everything was going to catch up to me.
Yeah.
So yeah, I started taking it easy. And then I was really starting to focus on when I really started to buckle down and focus on my health. I started to exercise more regularly. My diet shifted from not caring to caring a lot. It's not wasn't perfect yet. Like I said, I was still
That's just
indulging
the
in some of those
benefit of
things,
bringing
but
that awareness and take
yeah,
action on it.
because it was better then than waiting until now, because now it would have been too late. So I feel like this was coming into my late 20s and just starting to realize that I really had no excuses. I was getting compliments of people saying, "Oh, you look young for your age." Okay, thank you. I guess that must mean something. I should lean into that and try to keep that going as much as possible because I don't want to end up like other people that were around my age that I knew that was not looking their age or looking older because they was really, really deep into not eating healthy, indulging in a lot of bad habits, extremely much compared to what I was doing. And then, yeah, trying to ignore any situations that was coming up in my life that would cause me to go off that path. That was always a struggle. But I felt like I won that struggle because when I made the decision to leave Hawaii, I felt like I was starting to go on an upward swing as far as like my health goes. Because at that time, I can't remember what age I was, 30, mid 30s, early 30s, when I left Hawaii, came to Colorado. I was probably in one of the best shapes of my life then and now. You know, your health will go in peaks and valleys, but that was one of the peaks, one of the later peaks when I left. Body fat percentage was probably at its lowest. I was my leanest, and I didn't really have any ailments, physical ailments. So I was taking advantage of the amount of youth that I still had left, and I realized don't take anything for granted with what you have. I felt like I considered myself lucky on the health end because of how I was living before, but when I started to physically take care of myself better, I was feeling it. I was feeling it a lot more. And being in a higher altitude, I was feeling the difference
Right
there.
to go from Hawaii to Crested Butte, Colorado. Well, you had some time in Denver, which is my home city, right? So
Yeah.
to acclimate a little
Yeah.
before you got to 9,000 feet.
Yeah, a couple month transition helped out a lot, and I've felt it right away. You know, waking up with nosebleeds every morning for about a week and a half straight, and then realizing that whenever I drink alcohol, my tolerance was super high. But that doesn't mean go crazy. That means go the other way. Because if I went crazy, it's gonna catch up to you, and like everything would just shut down. So I just cut that down a lot and then moving to Crested Butte, higher elevation, working in 9380 hotel. I got my first management job. I was able to see everything, starting to see my age, feel my age a little bit, starting to feel the aging catching up to me. So I maybe go even harder on the nutrition side, on the exercise, the physical fitness side, exercising at home a lot more. And I didn't really have a plan. I just knew I wanted to be better and stay better. I knew there wasn't a way of reversing the aging process. I just wanted to preserve the feeling that I had, the youth that I had for as long as I could.
Yeah.
And
Well, and you lived in a very active community too.
that
Like
helped a lot.
basically everybody hikes and bikes and is very active. So that helps when you're
Yeah,
in
very
that
fit
community.
compared to that, compared to from living where I was being around a lot of people who weren't in the greatest of health, out of shape a lot. Diet was terrible. It's like, this is what I needed. This is what I needed. And I was meeting a lot of like-minded people. And I realized that, okay, this is great to be around, surround myself with people who have the same mind frame. Be fit, be healthy. Yes, have your fun too, but in moderation, which was something that I'm glad that I was able to do. And by the time I was in my mid 30s when I met Abby. She met me during that time where I was already ready to just like put a lot of stuff behind me, move forward. I was maturing a lot. I was pretty much done with everything that was just a hindrance to my life, health wise. And I was doing a lot of my own research. That was the thing. You're way past, I'm not in school, wasn't in school anymore. I wasn't in college or anything like that. But the information I knew was out there everywhere. Internet, this before a lot of the AI chat engines were a thing. Just go on internet and do your own research. You have nothing but time to do it. Yes, I was working multiple jobs, working on a lot of music and all that, but there was still no excuse. If I had time to do all that, I had time to go online and just do research as far as my health, what to expect, just asking a lot of questions. Because there was times where I was getting frustrated with like, okay, I want to get bigger, but how come it's not working? I want to lose. I'm starting to see a little bit of belly fat come. How can I lose that? Just start going online, asking questions, search, research, libraries, just books, and infinite information out there, no matter where you want to look. So that's what I just started doing and applying that to myself. And I started to see results. And that was exciting because I can no longer say, well, I got good metabolism because I'm young. No, in a sense, yeah, maybe young, but that starts to slow down when you get a certain age. And I can speak for males, I can speak for a lot of men now. You're in your 40s, everything starts to decline. So you want to fight against that. You can't reverse it, but you can just maintain what you have. And before you know it, if you're sticking to it, the health-wise, nutrition, if you're sticking to the exercise, if you're sticking to stress management, if you're sticking to getting ample sleep, then you start to see not only you're maintaining, but you're getting better along the ways. And that's good for our mental health too. And that brings me to this present day. When I met Abby, I didn't know how deep her background was, but when I started to learn what her credentials, what she was in school, what she learned in school, what she knew, I'm like, okay, that's extra motivating now because then I learned that about our age difference, like I gotta want to be able to keep up with her because I'm kind of gonna
For
be that
those who
old
don't
grumpy
know,
guy.
we are 12 years apart.
Yeah, I don't want to be the old grumpy, aging, ailing boyfriend, fiance, husband. And then when I learned, then we started talking about we got
I
engaged.
think he was 12 years older than me when we first met. I thought he was way younger than he was.
Hmm. I
And
thought she was older. She just seemed wiser and mature than most people I was meeting around her age at some time. So I was like, this is what I
like
like
when
this.
we first started dating, it was that's something that I think more me had to get over than you. Like,
Yeah. You know, I,
not
if
that it matters, but it was just, and like I said, you didn't seem like you were, because what you were, we met, my brain, memories now. Mom brain, I can't think of,
my brain, my
we
memory,
met in 2018.
yeah,
So 8 years ago,
40,
I just graduated or was about to graduate grad school. So you were
37, 36.
37, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's like I didn't want to be that old, aging, ailing boyfriend, fiance,
But
husband.
you acted younger and you seemed better than me.
I didn't want to be aging fast while she was aging gracefully. And after we got engaged and we started talking about starting a family, I'm like, okay, I'm definitely not gonna be that old dad, barely getting around keeping up with my kids. I'm gonna continue this health train going. And I learned how well she took care of herself. So,
Mm.
and I want to fast forward to Hatten Health, but this was the way, way prelude to that, which my motivation was for just keeping myself right and even getting better. So I don't want to fast forward to the present too much, but that is bringing me close to the present. I hope that kind of explains my mindset along the years from early farthest back as I can think 3, 4, 4 or 5 years old.
So, what did health mean when you became a dad?
When I became a dad, health meant everything because not only did I want to get stay better for keeping up with our child, but I wanted to have something to teach to our child growing up. I wanted to, alongside you, instill those healthy values, those health and nutrition values in our child from the early onset, to build that foundation so she had something to grow on as she got older, not wait until it's too late. Get the healthy mindset in her before she gets heavily influenced by outside influences that may not be so healthy. It meant it meant setting a good example for her. Definitely setting a good example. That's one of the biggest things because when I had management jobs along my career, leading by example worked for me better than leading by verbal communication. So now as a dad, you want to do both verbal communication and leading by example. Because of course we say this all the time. And parents know the kids see everything we do. They hear everything we say. They absorb it. They soak it all up. So why not let that be positive stuff that they see and hear? Leading by example. I want to be the father that she sees when she's a teenager or when she's in her early teens that she can look up and be proud of, like, wow, that's my dad right there. Or somebody should not ashamed to say that's my dad. Or when I come to school events or graduations, whatever, she can not be embarrassed, or at least some teenagers are gonna be embarrassed no matter what you do, but at least not be embarrassed by the presentation or by what we do or what we've done for her. And just be something that a model that she can look up to. And I'm sure you can relate to that same thing as a mom. But yeah, if I'm gonna be that quote unquote old dad when she graduates or when our next child comes, when they're in their adolescence or early teens or whatever, and I'm gonna be up there in age, at least be a great example of that, be a younger version of what they see a 45, 50, 60, 70-year-old dad is. So
Well, you're doing a
that's my
great job for
motivation.
that so far. And you did 2 half marathons since she was born, the two
Something I
years in a row.
something I never
She
thought I
didn't
would
watch you
do.
come through the finish line.
That was super motivation
She
because
might not remember it, but
yeah.
we have pictures and she can look back on it or stuff like that. Or
I almost forgot about that. At that time, that was also a motivating factor. What health meant to me was being able to do something like that because the first one I did just to see if I was able to do it, able to finish. I was never a big runner, a big fan of running, but the training I put myself up to be able to do that made me respect running a lot more. And to be able to finish that across that finish line was a big deal to me. I didn't have to come in first, second, third, or a high number. I just wanted to complete it. And I did. So that was a goal that I accomplished. And then
3 times.
the second time, I wanted to see if I could beat that time and be able to come across that finish line and see Ayla there.
Well, the first one you did was before.
Yeah, like I said, the first one was just to see if I could complete it.
Yeah.
The second one was to be able to come across the finish line and see you and her there, even though she wouldn't remember it, just to see that. That was keeping that in my mind the whole run. I was like, yeah, I gotta get down this, want to see them. So I did that, and I was surprised that I actually beat my previous time. So the third time, I'm like, okay, yeah, let's see if we can. I was going to do it together. I was going to do it together.
Every what
But
we were gonna do together. Things kept coming up.
but new mom, a lot of things happened. I understood why the training didn't really pan out. It was like, okay, just rest it out, and I understood time and fatigue. I get all that, so I didn't pressure her to like, come on, let's go now. So I did that, and I didn't beat the previous time. I actually matched it, which was weird.
Yeah, you were
But
to the minute almost.
yeah, I didn't know that was going to happen. But the
You and
mo
I almost missed you at the finish.
but you was there though. You was there.
Yeah, running down the hill trying to make sure you come finish.
But the motivation wasn't to beat the time, it wasn't to complete it. It was just to see them at the finish line again. And I did. And Ayla was older, a year older. So she was a little more cognizant as to what was going on. And I did that, but I didn't have the same fire under me as I did the first 2 times. So I knew like, okay, I don't need to do this again. I've proved it to myself already, and I matched completed two goals, and I completed the third goal. So I didn't really have anything else to prove to myself as far as marathons and half marathons go. And I started learning other ways to get good cardio in without putting stress on my knees and hips and feet because running wasn't really my thing anyway. So I found other ways, and those other ways became more fun for me. Like impact combat training, like boxing training. So I used to be in martial arts when I was a teenager. Uphill walking, get a good calorie burn, better calorie burn, less impact on my knees. It's fun, and that's what I'm doing to this day. And yeah, that brought me to the marathon thing. Brought up that helped me remember that. Yeah, that was all on that subject though. I kind of jumped back, but yeah. That was that in a nutshell, as best as I can remember. I'm sure after we're done recording, I might remember a few other things that which always happens, but yeah, that was the end of my long story about life, what health meant to me growing up. Hope I didn't miss anything. Thanks for filling in with the questions because I kind of went off the rails a little bit a couple of times, but you brought me back. Speak thinking about having a better habit to bring you back when you go off the rails a little bit.
No, we try. We try. Okay, let's do our positive affirmation real quick.
Okay. So as we do on this episode, we like to do our positive affirmation cards. As you see our stuff we got right here.
Okay, pick a number between 1 and 8.
7. I am shuffling.
Success in your life should be determined by contributions, not accumulations. By Arthur E. Linehan. Linehan?
I don't know.
Sorry, I butchered that. So one more time, success in life should be determined by contributions, not accumulations.
I think that's about paying it forward, being a
Mm-hmm.
bucket filler.
And this goes along with everything you just said, right? So contributing to your health throughout your life, right?
Yeah.
Um, putting little contributions into the health bucket.
It's definitely a butterfly effect. It's cause and effect. One action leads to the next action, leads to the next action. And I see it all the time. I've said it in posts, and I've said it before. I don't know where it originally was said. I know I've said it for a long time, but do something today that your future self will thank you for. That's basically what it is in a nutshell for me.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing.
As we always say here at Hatten Health, we love to focus on family,
Health
growth.
and empowerment.
So let's make it happen.
Together.
Yes, thank you for sitting through episode 9. We will see you next week for episode 10, where Abby will break down what health meant to her throughout the course of her life. This is going to be one you do not want to miss.
I don't know about that, but
I do. See you there.
And quick announcement, if you are interested in learning how you can improve your family's health, create healthy habits, manage meal times easier, spend less time in the kitchen, but making that time more quality time as a whole family, we have a program just for you called Family Time. It is an online course and group coaching program, and we are starting a brand new group on August 1st.
August 1st.
August 1st, that's a Saturday, so people will sign up. Access to the course will start August 1st. We have weekly coaching calls with us for 3 months.
Yep.
Yours truly, you get to see each of us once a week. And also just lots of information. It's a community, so you get to interact with other parents, discuss wins, challenges, lots of great stuff. So if you're interested in that, let us know. Give us a comment or email us at hello@hattenhealth.com and we'll get you on our waiting list. Again, it's starting August 1st, 2026. It's a 3-month coaching program and an online course. You get lifetime access to the course and all the updates and any changes that happen. You get recipes, you get
Hack videos, kitchen hacks,
videos,
recipes, cooking tutorials, grocery tutorials, a lot of
Yeah.
great inside information.
We talk about mindfulness, mindful eating, and how to apply that to your kids, mealtime strategies, all kinds of stuff. So if that sounds interesting to you, definitely let us know. We'd love to have you.
Absolutely. Okay,
Take
well,
care.
with that being said, take care.